China's social credit system is a dystopian nightmare, and many people feel safe because this is all happening in China. We can see what's happening, we can see how terrifying it is, but we're over here in the United States, and fortunately for us, we have a constitution which protects us, protects many of our rights. Unfortunately, one of the biggest aspects of the culture war has been the private platform argument, that Facebook, Twitter, Google, etc. can ban whoever they want because they're a private platform. When you then realize that financial institutions, credit card companies, web service providers are all private institutions as well and often work together to ban people they don't like, maybe then you'll start to realize we are entering the exact same social credit system and no constitution can protect us. On top of this, we're seeing many of the same practices extend to other British Commonwealth nations like Australia, the UK, and many countries in Europe want to censor and restrict speech, and the big tech platforms are agreeing to it. Today, let's take a look at the China social credit system and how similar ideas are going to become pervasive, and in my opinion, they're going to become the norm, even in the US, even with our Constitution. But before we get started, hop over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's a monthly donation option, cryptocurrency option, a physical address, but of course, you can just share this video and click the like button, comment below, because interacting with the video does a lot to tell YouTube the video is worth watching. Let's start with this story from the New York Post about China's new social credit system. It starts by saying, imagine calling a friend, only instead of hearing a ringtone, you hear a police siren, and then a voice intoning, be careful in your dealings with this person. Would that put a damper on your relationship? It's supposed to. Now, it wouldn't for me. I know who my friends are. Welcome to life in China's social credit system, where a low score can ruin your life in more ways than one. Say you arrive at the Beijing airport, intending to catch a flight to Canton, 1,200 miles south. The clerk at the ticket counter turns you away because you guessed it, your social credit score is too low. Not only are you publicly humiliated in the ticket line, you are then forced to travel by slow train. What should have been a 3-hour flight becomes a 30-hour stop-and-go nightmare. Now, I will point out, I don't know if in China these are private trains, but that's certainly been one of the arguments. It's a private platform. Would the argument then stand if a public service denied you? In the US, it wouldn't. But it could potentially fly in other Western countries, especially in Europe. But let's read on. All because the government has declared you untrustworthy. Perhaps you defaulted on a loan, made the mistake of criticizing some government policy online, or just spent too much time playing video games on the internet. All of these actions and many more can cause your score to plummet, forcing citizens onto the most dreaded rung of China's deadbeat caste system, the Lao Lai. But I will say, for those of us in the West and in the US, there is no quantified number as to whether or not you've, crossed into untrustworthy territory. But it certainly exists in some nebulous capacity. Say the wrong thing, you will be excised from every platform. You'll be labeled a hateful bigot. And then all of a sudden you'll find your bank accounts closed. Many conservatives have had their bank accounts closed, been banned from Facebook, Twitter, etc. And it seems that people who follow a certain orthodoxy, far left intersectionality, tend to be left alone. So one of the things I typically bring up is how on Twitter you'll see the far left saying crazy things, calling for violence, and then on the right, people get banned. Let's read a little bit more, but we'll move on because there's some more pressing information. They go on to explain that a low social credit score will exclude you from well-paid jobs, make it impossible for you to get a house or a car loan or even book a hotel room. The government will slow down your internet connection, ban your children from attending private schools, and even post your profile on a public blacklist for all to see. According to Australia's ABC News, the government has produced a deadbeat map via an app on WeChat, which shows a radar-style graphic identifying every Lao Lai in the vicinity of the user. Tapping on a person marked on the map reveals their personal information, including their full name, court case number, and the reason they have been labeled untrustworthy. Identity card numbers and home addresses are also partially shown. We'll wrap up on the story and we'll go through what's happening to us here in the West, in the United States. So yes, we'll end by saying China's already formidable police state has been upgraded using big data, machine learning, face recognition technology, and artificial intelligence into a fearsome cyborg of state control. The Chinese Communist Party has given birth to the world's first high-tech digital dictatorship. Not content to incarcerate its own population in a virtual prison, China is busily hawking its creation to like-minded socialist dictatorships. Maduro's Venezuela was China's first customer. Do you know who else is one of China's customers? Australia. Because in fact, this story from just in April, China's people monitoring software being deployed in Darwin. This is from lifehacker.com.au, so presumably they're talking about the city of Darwin in Australia. They say the city of Darwin has been looking at adopting smart city technology and has decided to implement facial recognition software and other monitoring solutions in order to detect anomalous behavior, or if a known criminal or someone banned from entering a specific area. The software will then alert authorities who can intercede when someone traverses what the council is calling a virtual fence. Now, when you read this, you think, well, we're talking about suspicious activity and criminals. But anomalous behavior should raise flags. What is anomalous behavior? Well, it's not too dissimilar to the idea of someone being untrustworthy. Have you seen Captain America Winter Soldier? The premise of the movie was that S.H.I.E.L.D. was infiltrated by Hydra, and what they were trying to do was eliminate anomalous behavior. They were going to launch gigantic helicarriers, flying ships, which use an algorithm to target anyone they deemed to hold, anomalous behavior, to behave in anomalous ways, and it was going to wipe them all out. Fortunately, Captain America intervened, and they targeted themselves, the ships did, and took themselves down. But that's not, while more extreme, right? No one's talking about ending anyone's life here. They want to end your life through financial means by ousting you from society. They will create a two-tiered system with those who fall in line and play to the mob being protected and those who dare challenge the system being pushed out. Now, we can see things like this has been a long time coming for the UK, right? This story from the time, Britain has more surveillance cameras per person than any other country except China. Interesting. That's a massive risk to our free society. Well, of course it is. You may then ask, what's wrong with surveillance? Well, you see this. This story is from a few days ago. A man was fined £90 for hiding his face from police facial recognition cameras. That's right. A truck had cameras on top. He pulled up. It was actually quite cold, he was saying. He pulled up his sweater to cover his face. They stopped him, and they fined him £90. His only crime? He wasn't a criminal. He just didn't want them filming his face. But there you go. The system is being set up. And don't think it's going to end with China. It might not take the same form with an actual credit system. But we are facing the same thing. Take a look at this. From Fortune, just about a week ago. Zuckerberg vows Facebook will work with governments on hate speech. Facebook, Amazon, Twitter, etc. They are working with all of these these countries that don't believe in free speech. And when it comes to the idea of protecting the right to free expression, what do we hear? It's a private platform. They can do whatever they want. And therein lies the bigger problem. What do you think is going to happen in the future? There won't be a government-implemented social credit system. We are already seeing the social credit system of big tech. So take a look at this story. This is from Human Events. Paul Joseph Watson was banned from Facebook because they said he was dangerous. Has Paul Joseph Watson ever encouraged any kind of, physical assault on an individual or a violent instance of a violent attack? He hasn't. In fact, he's done quite the opposite. He's denounced it. But unfortunately for Paul, he was removed, at least in my opinion, not because he's actually dangerous, but because his name runs afoul of our currently proto-social credit system, the media. The narrative that persists through the mainstream press and digital media is that he is an other. He's an outlier. He is a bad person. And the line keeps moving. The way I've often described it is we're all standing on a cliff, and the water keeps splashing against the cliff, eroding the cliffside, and there are people in front of me. I'm watching them fall. I believe in liberty. I don't even believe that Paul Joseph Watson actually ever broke any specific rules. Not that they mentioned. They just said he's dangerous. What does dangerous mean? What is their opinion on dangerous? Well, one thing I've brought up in the past couple of videos is this video from Akilah Hughes, where she says, if you talk S, prepared to get hit. Same goes for anyone else thinking their hate speech should be protected. The First Amendment of this country in the United States protects the right to speech, and the Supreme Court believes there's no hate speech. An opinion is an opinion. Therefore, it is protected. If you believe in the United States Supreme Court ruling, if you believe in the Constitution, Akilah is saying you should get hit. Numerous mainstream publications championed this. CBS champions this. Let's talk about what's dangerous. This is dangerous, right? I've brought up several times over the past few days about how Burger King was joining in the mob mentality to encourage violence. What is dangerous? That is, clearly, the issue isn't whether you're dangerous or violating the rules. The issue is whether or not you run afoul of the current construct of what is a social credit system. It's, again, not a number. It's not the same as China. But we are absolutely seeing you will be removed if you run afoul of orthodoxy. And you may think, so what? Paul Joseph Watson has bad opinions. Sure. What about a scientist? What about one of the leading researchers on gender dysphoria, whose work intended to keep gender dysphoria listed as a mental disorder so that trans folks could continue to get financing, money for medical treatment? Because if you remove gender dysphoria from the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, it will be harder to get medical treatment for trans people. Well, he was suspended from Twitter for posting his professional scientific opinion because he runs afoul of mainstream orthodoxy. This is the world that's being built. Do you think people are going to want to speak up? Do you think anyone's going to want to admit they're going to vote for Donald Trump? Of course not. What do we see? Trump wins in 2016, flying in the face of the media and the press. Brexit happens, flying in the face of the media and the press, and now in Australia. And we're hearing the same thing may happen in India. People are terrified to speak about what they really believe because of the looming social credit system. But then they push back on it. So maybe that's a light at the end of the tunnel. If you're someone who thinks that, I'll back up. When I went to all these Trump rallies and spoke to young people, they said political correctness worried them. But what about when the rules are unclear, right? We can stop there and say, sure, maybe some personalities, some more right-wing conservative groups will rise from this and can help push back. But what about when right now the rules are completely unclear? How do you actually fall in line with the social credit system? Let's say you've decided, you know what, I don't want to fight the machine. I just want to live my life. Unfortunately for you, you can't. You can't just live your life. It doesn't work that way. The rules don't make sense, and it's on purpose. One of the things I brought up in the past is the idea that women, spelled with an X, was considered inclusive and exclusive simultaneously. One group said, how dare you use the word women with an X, wimixin, because trans women are women and don't need a special word. At the same time, a black feminist group at a university said, no, you must use it to be inclusive of all women. It was both simultaneously offensive and inoffensive. So what do you do but bend the knee? This tweet from Matt Walsh went viral. He said, gender is a social construct, but I am woman, hear me roar. But anyone can be a woman, but no uterus, no opinion. But trans women are women, but I demand women's rights, but men are women. But men are scum, but drag queens are beautiful, but appropriation is evil. It went viral for a reason. There's been a lot of tweets from people. They say this all the time. Even Pete Buttigieg said this. Men should not have an opinion on the issue of life and choice when it comes to this debate, because it's a woman's body, it's her choice. But then we see at the same time people saying male silence is violence. Silence is violence. Why aren't men speaking up to defend women? Because the rules don't make sense. If you speak up about your opinion, you're told you're wrong and it's offensive. You shouldn't have one. If you don't speak up, you're told it's wrong, it's offensive. What do? But shut up and bend the knee to the rise of the authoritarian tech oligopoly, which will eventually become our social credit system. How about if you're someone who is mixed race and believes in liberty and Christianity? Well, then you will be called a white supremacist. Seriously. Seriously. How can an article like this exist? It seemingly makes no sense. The point is, what I'm bringing up is that there is no way to actually understand the principles of what this new oligopoly orthodoxy religion is. All you can do is shut up and bend the knee to those who want the power, because there is no way to be trustworthy in our social credit system. Sam Harris tweets the other day, a paradox for our time. The far left is disproportionately white, wealthy, and well-educated. So extreme wokeness is now one of the most glaring symptoms of white privilege. Yep, it is. There is this system being put together. We are seeing people get banned. The line keeps moving. Who is considered hateful, who isn't, who is considered far right and fringe. The Overton window is being shifted by venture capital and by the fringe left. And even when you try to say, you know what, okay, I will do what you want, you're told you're simultaneously offensive, you're inclusive and exclusive at the same time. No matter what you say, it will be offensive. That quite literally means you can only bend the knee. Lastly, you might be saying, you know what? How about I just don't say anything at all? How about I just stay out of the political fight and mind my own business? Because if you don't agree to bend the knee, they can just lie about you. And they do. They lie about me all the time. They lie about tons of people, and it results in them getting banned. Do you think Chase Bank wants to do any research on an individual? If they get a bunch of activists inundating them with emails saying this person is bad for this reason, do you think they're going to sit there and say, let's dig into the history of this individual? Or do you think they're going to say, I don't know, man, let's just back off? Look at Count Dankula in the UK. Admittedly, it's much worse in the UK and other Commonwealth countries. He's called everything in the book because he made a silly joke on YouTube. Admittedly, a joke substantially less offensive than anything George Carlin has ever said. He just taught his dog to do a stupid trick as a joke. And what happened? Newspapers smeared him, lied about him, and they tried to destroy his life, and he was actually criminally convicted. They took the money from his bank account. Fortunately, we have a First Amendment. But when it comes to how to remove ideas from public, they can just snap their fingers and say, you're a bigot. Maybe you won't speak at all. Maybe you'll be tepid. Maybe you'll say, I believe in freedom, but I condemn hate speech. Well, this is where it gets really fun. Because we have a new post about Joe Rogan's voice being faked almost perfectly. I'm not going to play any of the audio. No, I don't think I can actually play any of the audio. But the issue here is we're already entering a world where Photoshop exists. Fake photos can emerge. Fake screenshots have actually gotten people in trouble. But now they can actually simulate your voice nearly perfectly and make you say whatever they want you to say, and then they can just release it. And who's going to believe you? The court of public opinion doesn't demand evidence. And as far as they're concerned, it's an audio recording. It is evidence. So lastly, I'll wrap all this up in a nice, fine bow. It's coming. The dystopian future is upon us. It's quite literally hell on earth. I have one story. They're blacklisting 13 million people from using trains and planes. You won't even be able to fly on a plane when they deem you an anomalous or untrustworthy individual. And even if you're someone who says, I'll mind my own business, no. You have to bend the knee. You have to agree to their rules and their orthodoxy, or they can just fabricate your voice and lie about you anyway. Now, admittedly, fabricating your voice, I think, is far away. But they've posted fake photos. They take things out of context. They snip segments. They make fake audio already. They've done it to me over and over and over again. And then people reach out to celebrities, and celebrities retweet it. If you don't bend the knee, they will come for you. That is our social credit system. It's coming. And then what happens? Well, you're going to be put on watch lists. You're going to be refused service. Your credit card will stop working. Your bank will shut you down. You'll be booted from online services, Twitter, Facebook, they'll ban you. Because as we've already seen, Paul Joseph Watson is dangerous. He's a dangerous person for being a mean, snarky individual on the internet. But of course, Akilah Hughes saying, prepare to get hit. You should, for anybody who believes in free speech. That's not dangerous at all. In fact, she's been promoted in the mainstream. You see where this is all going. The nightmare is coming. It's already in China. Some of this technology is already being implemented in Australia. And whether or not we ever get hit by something as egregious as what they've done in China, we have a constitution that protects us, the private companies will do it anyway. Because what law protects you to make sure you can use your credit card? You know that cafes in New York, many of them aren't even taking cash anymore. Go to New York, you walk into a business and all they have is Square. You know what Square is? It's a financial transaction service that's I believe it's owned, it's run by Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter. So where do you think this is all going? As Square continues to take a massive portion of the market share in financial transactions for businesses who now no longer accept cash, where do you think it's going to go? MasterCard has already gotten some people suspended from their bank. Chase has done this. I think you're going to find that you will be relegated to the backwoods. You'll be deemed untrustworthy, you'll be excised from society, and you'll go live off in the wilderness. But you know what? For me, I'm kind of okay with that. I would love to do nothing but kick back in the wilderness and go fishing. But who knows? Maybe they won't even allow that. So I'll leave it here. Thanks for hanging out. Again, if you want to support my work, you can go to timcast.com/donate. Monthly donation through PayPal. We'll see how long that lasts. Bitcoin, cryptocurrency wallets, physical address. And again, hit the like button, click the share, share the video. It really helps. And I guess if you've made it this far on the podcast, you've listened to over an hour and a half or so of content, then give me a good rating, because apparently that helps too. But thanks for hanging out. I will see you all. For those that are listening on the podcast, this is the end of the segment of the show. But for those that are on YouTube, more videos to come at 6, 6:15, and 6:30. And I will see you all next time.